Now, these stories of extraordinary acceptance are sometimes quite puzzling to people. One thinks, but how can they really have been so very accepting of these children who were so very different, so very unusual, so very troubling? You think, of course, they would have wanted to have a different kind of child and not the child they had. But of all those stories of acceptance, the one that was in some ways the most dramatic to me came when I interviewed the parents of Dylan Klebold, who was one of the perpetrators of the Columbine massacre. And when I went to see them, it took me years to persuade them to talk to me, years. And when I finally went to see them, they were so full of their story that they couldn't stop telling it. And so at the end of the first weekend that we spent together on Sunday night, we were all sitting around in the kitchen. We were all exhausted, having recorded more than 20 hours of interviews. And I said, if Dylan were here now, is there anything you'd want to ask him or tell him? And his father said, there sure is. I don't want to ask him what the hell he thought he was doing. And his mother kind of looked at the floor, and she thought for a minute. And then she said, I would ask him to forgive me for being his mother and never knowing what was going on inside his head. A couple of years later, I was having one of many dinners with Sue Klebold, and I reminded her of what she had said. And she said, you know, when it first happened, I used to wish I had never had children. If I hadn't gone to Ohio State, these things wouldn't have happened, and these children wouldn't have existed, and the world would have been safe. She said, but over time, I've come to feel that I love the children I had so much that I don't want to imagine a life without them, even at the cost of this pain. When I say that, I'm speaking of my own pain, of course, not the pain of other people. But life is full of suffering, and this is mine.